This is part 5 of chapter 2, so let's get on with it. Yes, so in the last part, we talked about the new kinds of kingdoms and chiefdoms that originated in different parts of Indian subcontinent after the modern empire. So we talked about Cholas, Cheras, and Pandyas who emerged in the southern part of India, that is in the area called Tamilakam, which is basically some part of present-day Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, and the entire Tamil Nadu. And we know that this period in the South India is considered to be a golden period because of the cultural advancement that was brought by these empires in the south. Apart from that, we also talked about the Satavahanas in the Western India and who were later on pushed out by a Central Asian tribe of with the name of Shakas. So we talked about all these people. So basically, we will extend on this particular information. So the next subtopic is the divine kings. So basically this topic deals with that what kind of idea these kings used to have regarding themselves, how they wanted to differentiate themselves with the common masses. So the first important point here is that they wanted to claim high status. Now they did not want themselves to be compared with the common masses. They wanted to be at a different level, on a higher level as compared to the common masses. So in order to claim high status, many of the times we have seen that these kings used to identify themselves with a variety of deities. Now they used to, like for example, the name called Devputra. Now Devputra is a title. Okay, these people used to adopt these titles in order for them to uh, uh, look more pompous and grand as compared to the common masses. So example here is one of the Kushanas. Now, Kushan again is a Central Asian tribe which came into India after the Shaka. So, this is basically a period when people of foreign origin started to penetrate into India and establish their control over the Indian landmass. So, the Kushanas they came into India in around first century BCE, and they ruled over a very vast kingdom that is from Central Asia towards the northwest India. So this entire land was being controlled by the Kushans. So these people, the information can be extracted from the inscriptions and the various literary texts that has been left behind by them, and their notion of kingship, that they wished to project themselves as more grand, and they used to project themselves as related to gods and goddesses in order to be looking more important than the other people. And this has been evidenced in coins and sculptures. Like for example, in coins, one side of the coin will have the image of a god, while the other side of the coin will have the image of any particular king. So this is basically done by these kings so that they can look more important, more grand, and they could segregate themselves from the category of the common masses. Second major way was to establish or build colossal statues. Like in the movie Bahubali, also we have seen that Rana, he builds a huge statue of himself. This is basically to impose among the people the idea that they are higher species, they are more important, they are grand. So one of the way was to build these colossal structures, and this has been done by Kushan rulers also. One of the statues that we have seen is found from a place at Mat near Mathura. So similar statues have also been found from places of Afghanistan, etc. So Kushanas considered themselves to be godlike. They considered themselves to be related to the Almighty. And many Kushan rulers, so they adopted the title, for example, as I've already told you, Devputra, that is the son of the god. And this is basically inspired from the Chinese legends. So the Chinese used to do that, and since these tribal people, Kushan, etc., they have come from the Central Asian landmass. Obviously, they must have been in contact with the Chinese, so they have taken up this practice of relating themselves with the gods to become more important. So by the 4th century CE, now we are coming towards the Gupta Empire. So these Gupta empires basically they also had adopted several pompous titles, but many of these were dependent on the Samantas. Now, Samantas, you can relate them with like governors of a particular area. So, the Gupta Empire also was divided into various provinces, and these provinces used to be ruled by particular governors. And these governors used to be very powerful in their own local areas. So, these governors were at the end of the day answerable to the central king, that is the Gupta king. So Gupta king used to depend on these governors or samantas, because these samantas used to provide the central king with the local resources. Like for example, they used to give them control over the land, or they used to pay homage, or they used to pay respects to the king. So powerful samantas could become kings. Like if one governor used to rebel against the central king, if he became extremely powerful, then he could also displace the central king and take up all the power. But the weak kings, most of the times, they used to end up in a position of subordination, that is working as a inferior in the empire of the Guptas. So histories of the Gupta rulers, like for example Kushans, now sources of information are always going to be same. Like for example, the sources of information is inscription, they are the literary text. Similarly, in the Gupta Empire also, the sources of information is coins. Now the study of coins is called numismatics. So this again turned out to be an important source of information for the Guptas. And then there is the inscriptions, the various engravings that have been done on the stone by the various kings in order to proclaim their decisions or orders. And third is the literary text, whatever the texts have been written during this time. Now the most important part of these texts is the prashastis, which were composed to praise the king. So these prashastis basically are written by various poets. Like for example, the most important prashasti is the Prayag prashasti. Prayag is present day Allahabad. So in the Allahabad pillar inscription, which has been composed in Sanskrit by the court poet of Samudragupta, important ruler of Gupta dynasty. So this poet's name was Harisen. So Harisen, in his Prashasti is basically praising the king. So he has written a very long inscription in which he has talked about the commendable work of Samudragupta and all his victories over the years. He has compared this king to the gods. He has said that this man is embodied with kindness to mankind, and he can be compared to Indra, the god of rains, or Yam, the god of death. So this is basically a sort of a literary text that has been left behind by the various poets, and they were basically written to praise the contemporary rulers. Maybe these poets wanted to impress the kings, or in order to achieve better positions in the administration. Probably that is why they had composed all these inscriptions for the particular king. So now a few small topics, like what is the meaning of transplantation. We will be reading about it. It's given in a block in your book. So transplantation is a method used for paddy cultivation. Paddy is rice. Basically, it is sowing of the seeds in a more controlled environment, and when the seed grows as a sapling, then that sapling is transplanted in the waterlogged field. So this ensures a higher ratio of survival for the sapling. So basically, it is to give the sapling proper strength in a controlled environment, so that it doesn't die down as and when it is transplanted in a natural environment. So this is the method of transplantation. Basically, first letting the seeds to grow into a sapling in a controlled, more protected environment, and later on transplanting them, or transferring them into the natural environment. Second is the Sudarshan Lake in Gujarat. This Sudarshan Lake is extremely important. It was an artificial reservoir, and it has been mentioned in the rock inscriptions of Shaka ruler Rudraman. And this has been repaired time and again by various kings, which shows that various kings were interested in the welfare of the common masses, and that is why the attempts were made by the various kings to repair this reservoir, especially in the times of Mauryas and Guptas. So this was the subtopic. We'll start with the next subtopic in the next part. Please carry on reading the chapter also side by side. Thank you.